The live cold call you're about to listen to.
Appreciate it. Start the timer. Well, the reason I was giving you a call, Haley, is I noticed that you were a leader of HR and people over
It was a real call I made today in my software sales job. I didn't set the meeting, but I hope that you still find value in hearing my exact cold calling script and how I handle objections, because the prospect hits me with, now's not a good time, we have a solution in place, I'm not interested. Pay close attention to my tone, pitch, inflection. The prospect attempts to rush me off the phone multiple times with short answers indicating lack of interest, but I control the pace at all times and do not allow her to do that. And secondly, pay close attention to how I frame the value and outcomes they will recognize from the solution, opposed to leading with more low-level features. If you're interested in a much more comprehensive and deeper breakdown of cold calling scripts that are proven based on 60,000 live cold calls and that you can apply in your job today to sell whatever product, service, solution you're selling, I've linked my cold calling guide down below for you to check out. Please enjoy this live cold call.
Hi, Haley. This is Trent from Qualtrics. How are you? My name is Trent, and I'm calling from Qualtrics. May I have 30 seconds for me to tell you the reason why I'm calling you this morning, Haley? Appreciate it. Start the timer. Well, the reason I was giving you a call, Haley, is I noticed that you were a leader of HR and people over at Bank, and I typically work with folks like yourself to help them increase employee engagement, retention of their employees, productivity, development, and more. Are any of those outcomes top of mind for your team today? I imagine they were. 91 of the top 100 banks today use for their employee feedback programs. I have a few different ideas I believe we can help your team, but I would love the opportunity to set up a brief introductory conversation to talk about how your process is working today and allow me to share how Qualtrics could help. Being that your team values insights like these today, certainly not expecting y'all to be interested in changing anything anytime soon, really just looking to share, well, hey, could Qualtrics bring additional value to this program, especially if you have a team focus on this, or perhaps even be a better fit in the long term. So really my ask would be, hey, when would be an appropriate time to talk more about the results that program is driving and allow me to share how Qualtrics could bring additional impact? Sure. And out of respect for your time, Haley, would there be a more appropriate member of the team that perhaps oversees this process directly? Because if this doesn't fall in your wheelhouse, I certainly don't want to bother you if this isn't something I can help your team with. Totally hear where you're coming from, Haley. And if I may ask as a final question here, is the hesitation due to, well, hey, we're under a contract with another vendor or things are just working so spectacularly well? I'm just curious the reasoning as to why maybe a few years from now would be better opposed to in the near term. No, I appreciate that. And I'm sure that the process are working well today. I just typically find with other HR leaders I work with, although things may be working well, there's usually room for improvement or lead to cost savings and typically learning about industry trends as to what, and we empower your teams with a tool. So it's not, hey, let's take all the work away from your team. It's we're going to give you access to the resources to drive the outcomes forward that your team's focused on. So not expecting y'all to change anything, really just looking to educate and share how we might be able to bring supplemental value or be a better fit for your team. Well, I appreciate your time this morning, Haley, and wishing you and the team all the best.
Let me know what feedback you have for me down below. I'm always looking to get better, and I know so many of you also call for a living and I'm sure have great tips and advice. A few thoughts as I've analyzed that call back a few times. First and foremost, I removed the prospect's voice for anonymity. I know it would have added a lot, leaving it included, but I wanted to remove it for that purpose. Secondly, make the ask for their time. The purpose of a cold call is to sell time. We are not there to pitch them on our solution or to try and get them to do anything other than agree to a next meeting so that we can begin the sales cycle. 45 seconds into that call, I made the ask for the prospect's time, and this is absolutely a best practice that will change the game because it will help you cut through a lot of the noise and get directly to what you're trying to drive. And if they do not take your meeting, okay, we need to get to the root of why, and that's why I probed into why. And every time the prospect gave me an objection, I validated them to build a little bit of credibility and to say, hey, I've heard you. I flip it around and say, hey, here's value. Here's why it still makes sense to meet. And then ultimately, I reposition and rebundle, hey, well, let's actually set up some time because I just justified why it still makes sense. My pitch, tone, inflection was the exact same in the final few seconds of the call as it was in the beginning of the call. So keep that in mind as these prospects will try to fluster you. They will try and say things to get you to think other things, to push you off the phone because they want to get onto their day. Because imagine some busy VP that has 25 unopened emails, that has to review 2 proposals, that needs to sign a DocuSign in their inbox, that has to leave work early for their kids' soccer practice, that has a new hire on the team that they're trying to ramp up. They have so much going on in their world, and then all of a sudden you're calling them out of the blue from a local area presence number. They've never heard of you, they've never heard of your company. You're desperate with that quota breath trying to get some pipeline, and they're just trying to mind their own business, and you keep bothering them. Maybe it's the 50th time you've called them. So keep this in mind. Empathize that we are calling actual humans and other professionals, not just a name on the screen at the end of the day, and try and add value to them. And the better you can do that and empathize with them, humanize with them, the more likely you will be to set the meeting. Click the first link in the description below to access my cold calling guide. As you can see, it includes multiple cold calling scripts that you can use today to more effectively sell whatever product, service, solution you're selling. I include more live cold calls and analysis. I include my daily operating rhythm so you can have a point system to understand exactly how many calls, emails, prospects you need to do each day. I include thoughts on voice message strategy, cadence, more cold calling principles, and LinkedIn Sales Navigator strategy to find warm and high quality prospects. Over 300 folks have invested in the guide, and you can go read some of the positive reviews on the website. Ultimately, my intention with preparing this information is, hey, I've been making tens of thousands of cold calls. How can I condense all of my learnings in 2 hours, bundled up, so that you can expedite your learnings to ultimately conquer the phones, have more confidence, and find more success in your sales job? Go click the cold calling guide now. And if you enjoyed today's video and want to support the channel, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification, and I'll talk to you in the next video.